Hey guys, how's it going? It's Danconia here and welcome back to Overwatch. So, does anyone here perhaps didn't watch Pro Overwatch before the Overwatch League? Do they watch Contenders? Did they watch Apex? Well, let's take a look back at Overwatch competitive pro scene over the years and let's give our determination of where it's at right now, shall we? So, Overwatch Contenders, one of the oldest forms of Pro Overwatch, began with only two regions, North America and Europe, in 2017, and in the early days of Overwatch in 2016 and 2017, the highest level of pro play was either at the World Cup or in Korea with a competition called Apex. A lot of you might know Apex, a lot of you might not. So, and the Overwatch League has alluded to Apex many times. Apex was the biggest competition of its time. Many top European teams played in Korea against the best in Apex, including Envious, which became the Dallas Fuel, Rogue, which contained players such as AKM and Unco, although Rogue did get disbanded in the end. Apex also gave birth to the biggest Korean teams we know today, including LW Blue, which became the New York Excelsior, or the New York Choke-Celsior, I don't know. Let's not get into that. The infamous Lunatic-Hai, which became the underwhelming Seoul Dynasty, GC Busan and Gyeongdu Panthera, which were merged to create the Overwatch League 2018 Grand Finals winners London Spitfire, and of course, Runaway. A team which gave birth to the roster which became the Vancouver Titans, who are currently dominating the Overwatch League, and the new Runaway roster is also currently dominating in Korean Contenders, having won it for the past 2 seasons and are currently on course to win this one. With Runner and Flowervin at the helm, this team looks to dominate for years to come in Korea. Contenders in 2018, with the inaugural Overwatch League season, expanded to 7 regions: North America, South America, Australia, China, Korea, the Pacific, and Europe. In 2018, the trial system was introduced, allowing amateur teams to make their way to the top end and play, including relegation between Contenders and Open Division. In 2019, Contenders was expanded again, with North America broken up into Eastern and Western divisions. Pacific and Atlantic showdowns were introduced, ending with the Gauntlet, which will find the best Contenders team in the world, which most people assume to be Runaway, but who knows. Below Contenders Trials, there is an Open Division which allows many players Master or above from Ladder to get into esports through teams which can enter the Open Division freely. Open Division predates the Overwatch League and Contenders. So, that's kind of the early days and how they fit into what we've got now. Obviously, I haven't gone on about the Overwatch League, that's coming in a minute. But the feeder system to what I would call the Overwatch League now has provided a lot of proof that it's working. And although there isn't, in many sports systems, you have a relegation in the top league and then you'll go down to the second league, or the third league, and the fourth league. There's no relegation from Overwatch League to Contenders. That just wouldn't work with the way that Overwatch League works. It's a franchise system. You can't relegate a franchise out of the league. It's just not going to work. In the future, if we see many, many more cities, we might see 2 tiers of the Overwatch League maybe. And then you can perhaps start saying, well, we could have an Overwatch League, Overwatch Premier League, and an Overwatch Championship, perhaps? Or something like that, if I'm just thinking of English names here. But then you could see relegation come into the Overwatch League, but it's a long way away, especially as Nate Nanzer announced not too long ago that there won't be any expansions teams after this season for 2020. So, proof that the feeder system to the Overwatch League is working well. Angry Titans won an Open Division in 2017. When Contenders wasn't really a big thing, the Overwatch League didn't exist. They won Open Division 2017 Season 3 in Western Europe. And now, they have just won Overwatch Contenders Season 1 2019. So there's a progression there that's working, and you can be sure that people in the Overwatch League are keeping an eye on that Angry Titans roster in Europe and saying, hey, there's some good players here. Let's try and lure them in. and with a big gap between Stage 2 and 3 of 2019's Overwatch League season, you can bet that there's going to be some player movements. Open Division 2018 Season 2 was won by a team called Goats. Now, we all know what happened here. They pioneered the meta which has dominated Overwatch for the past God knows how many months. And on that team was Gator. Gator is now part of the Atlanta Reign in the Overwatch League. So, if you didn't know why some people will say, God's sake, why are they running Goats? That's because that's 3-3, it's Goats. But I'm sure you already know this. A triumph of the Open Division system is a player called I'm37, who in March was playing for WaveCheck in the Tournament of Future Champions. They signed up for the Open Division, at which point I'm37 got noticed by Second Wind, who were invited to North America Eastern Contenders. He didn't even get to play a game for them, before being picked up by the Toronto Defiant, and now starts for them in the Overwatch League. A path to pro done in a matter of a month. I don't think we will ever see that again, to be quite honest. That's quite a feat in itself. I'm37 is certainly a very special case, but you look, there are a lot of teams that have, come from contenders these days. I mean, very often in the off-season, we saw this, just before this season, that a lot of contenders teams got ripped apart by the new Overwatch League rosters. Especially in Korea, China, not too much in Europe. But Korea, China especially, because that's, unfortunately, especially in Korea, where the best players are right now. But moving on to the Overwatch League, there continue to be developments there. So obviously this year we have an 8-team expansion for the inaugural season, seeing 20 teams in the competition this year. Also next year the teams will play, finally, home and away games in their own cities, which has always been an aspiration of the league since its announcement in 2017, I think. The reach of the Overwatch League has also improved, with it being broadcasted at times on ABC, Disney XD and ESPN, a big step for esports in general, let alone Overwatch. In-game skins have been a big hit, and more contracts are being signed between Overwatch League and partners such as other broadcasting companies, especially in Asia. And although also the big deal between the league and Fanatics for merch, Fanatics being one of the biggest sports merch retailers in America, it was a big thing for the league. The second season of the Overwatch League has not been without issue though. Despite having a good shopping experience eventually in 2018, in 2019, the OWL store from Fanatics is only based in America, with the international versions of the store, including the EU store, not being available until May. Well, we're in May now and it's still not available. Oh dear. Already halfway through the second season though, which is pretty poor in my opinion. Also, the viewership of the main stream on Twitch has not been able to hit the heights it did last year, especially earlier in the season. This could be for a number of reasons. A bigger variety of ways in which to watch the Overwatch League compared to last year, or the current meta in the game, which leans heavily towards tanks and is widely seen by fans and neutrals alike as a much less entertaining meta than the DPS we saw in the inaugural season. So, I will have another video coming up on this whole meta issue and how it might be affecting Overwatch League viewing figures, and how it's affecting the actual base game anyway. There's been a lot of murmurs about what's going on with Overwatch. There's been a lot of talk of big change coming. That's not only from people with speculation, that's Jeff himself has been murmuring this as well. So, whenever we get to see that change, it might just be massive. So, to conclude though, the esports environment for Overwatch just keeps improving. With a much easier path to becoming a pro than ever before, the best players are able to be on show for everyone to enjoy, especially in contenders these days where you can watch basically any game, and the trials are also broadcasted on contenders as well. More and more orgs are being brought into contenders, expanding contenders along with the Overwatch League Academy teams. With the current design, there is a clear path to pro for players going from ladder into Open Division, onto contenders trials, then to contenders, which gets you noticed by Overwatch League teams. The lower levels of Overwatch still have a great influence on the higher levels of play, including metas like GOATs and players like I'm37. So, you can see that even lower levels of Overwatch, GOATs were never, the team GOATs were never a big team. they were mainly a trials team. XQC played for them for as a stand-in for a little while. They were never a big team, but they created this meta, which we are still in today. And this was nearly a year ago. So it shows how even like the smallest things can have a massive impact on the whole competitive outlook of Overwatch. It changed the highest level of competitive ladder. It changed the Overwatch League. It changed contenders. And it's also changed the fortunes of many teams. You look at London Spitfire, yes, they were not consistent in the inaugural season, but GOATS has really taken a hit on London Spitfire, and they're only just now, despite their playoff fall against Hangzhou, getting back to perhaps where they were last season. But you've also seen teams like Giganti not be so dominant in Europe, and you've seen teams like Runaway take hold of GOATS and absolutely dominate it in some respects, and Vancouver Titans are included in that. So it's really interesting. It's a great time for Overwatch Esports, and I can only see it getting better in the future as the meta does shift. It will do eventually. It will do eventually. We're not going to be stuck in GOATS forever, believe me, because it's just Overwatch is not a concrete game. And what I mean by that is it's not going to stick. There's going to be new heroes, there's going to be new maps, there's going to be alterations to certain heroes, inevitably, and eventually something will come along that will present itself that is bigger than GOATS, and GOATS will then be pushed down to a second tier sort of thing. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the future, because there have been obviously allusions to change in both Overwatch League and Overwatch the game. I am going to do a video on that very, very soon. But this was just a look at how far esports has come for Overwatch from the days of Apex and Envious and Kongdu Panthera and GC Busan, Lunatic-Hai, and how we're looking at it now, and we've got these veterans such as Wu Jae-hong in the Overwatch League, and it's quite awesome to see. It's quite awesome to see how far it's come, and it's great to see that even the lower levels of Overwatch at the pro scene, like Open Division, Trials and Contenders, are still having a massive impact at the very, very top level. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, give a like, subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next video. See you then!